the keys are to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time.
Hey, you're right. It is. It's time for us to react to the game.
Yeah, react. There's absolutely no negative comments coming at all.
No, zero.
In anyone's comment section.
No. I mean, I would don't even bother reading ours. It's all positive. It has to be.
It's the rain outside is not actual rain. It's tears from 49ers fans whose season has abruptly come to a crushing defeat by the Indianapolis Colts. I think it's symbolism. God is now crying upon us as our team stumbles through the season.
Caleb's got the right idea, and that's not tears from 49ers fans. It's the yikes raining down upon us. It's all of the yikes that will be coming your way with 49ers. I mean, it's not great, obviously, faithful Cutback crew. So make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you have not already. Let's get into the reaction. Let's talk a little bit about this, and let's go through what some of the chat's saying. Because this wasn't good, Ant.
Well, I think it was interesting because the first part of the game, the opening script, Kyle Shannon's a trash play caller. But his opening script was absolutely fantastic. And as they go through the script, they end up with two scoring drives. They had the turnover on the first drive for the Colts, so they end up turning that into points as well. I think that's pretty good. I think that was well done. Unfortunately, the offense stalled after that. I mean, they couldn't get anything going. It seemed like they were somewhat out of sorts. It was like once they couldn't get those big gashing runs, they just weren't able to execute, whether it was the drops. Once again, receivers dropping screen passes was a common
theme all season long, man. It's been a consistent thing. It sucks, man. It really does suck. And I'm seeing everyone talking about trash play calling and all this and all of that.
Well, Timo says it's blame, like you can't blame the rain. I'm not blaming the rain. Are you blaming the rain?
I'm not blaming the rain, but here's the thing. You can't sit there and pretend like the rain doesn't have an impact.
I think it actually affected both teams.
Yeah, I mean, if you're sitting here going, you can't blame the rain, first off, you can 100% hold the rain accountable for some of the things that happened tonight. I mean, there were...
It changed the game for sure.
Drops on both sides of the ball by both teams on things that shouldn't have happened, fumbles that probably don't happen on both sides of the football, missteps with snaps for both teams.
Drops, I mean, that one Hines would have caught for a touchdown. Yeah,
that was a touchdown.
He wouldn't have dropped that.
No, the rain absolutely played a factor. But to sit there and say, it's the rain's fault for the loss, I mean, no, you can't sit there and blame any one specific thing. A lot of things went wrong tonight. Tons of things went wrong tonight. This has been the common thing with this team all season long, and is when you need this team to step up and execute in downs and distances in certain situations, they just don't. And the PI calls again hurt. They hurt once again, and a few of them are not on us. It's very shoddy officiating and bailout calls where you had a guy coming back to a football that was severely underthrown. And then you got a handful that are 100% on our guys, and I don't know what they're doing.
The Mosley one in the back of the end zone.
Oh, my gosh.
He just grabbed him and hugged him. Yeah,
this is awful.
It's pass interference.
It's pass interference. Yeah. It's laughable at this point because Collinsworth actually said it on air, which was, this is actually a legitimate strategy for the Colts. Just throw the ball down. Just throw 50-50 balls. There's a good chance you're going to get a pass interference call. That is not good. That's not good. That's not winning football for either side. But the fact that
sounds like winning football for the Colts because every scoring drive had a defensive pass interference on it.
It's accurate. It's 100% a winning strategy for them. It's a losing strategy for us, but it's been a common theme throughout this season, and it's something that needs to get fixed and addressed. But I don't know how you can address it. I don't know how you can fix it because it's either the guys you have, right, or it's your coach. It's one of the two. It's either coaching points or your players. There's only so many players you can rotate guys in and out for.
Yeah, I think it can go either way. As far as I saw what Jay Ellie said, it was like riding Space Mountain, and I'm not talking like the Nature Boy. Woo! And I 100% agree. That's what it feels like because that opening drive, actually the two, take you to that high point, and then it just all comes crashing down. It's like a roller coaster of emotions. I 100% agree with that.
And you can't even see it either, right? You don't even know where you're going or what's happening or what turn you're taking next. You're just there for the ride.
And then for Marketing Pro, he said Wentz is elite again. I'll say this: to quote the great Denny Green, if you want to crown him, you crown him.
You go ahead and crown him.
I'm not ready for that because Yeah, Al-Shaair would disagree with that. I think it was the running game and Jonathan Taylor. They did a very good job moving the football. He made very timely cuts, great runs. He has very good vision. I thought he executed at a high level today.
You mean to tell me
I would definitely put a lot of the onus on that Colts running game, and offensive line did pretty well. It was a good performance by them.
I was gonna say you're gonna tell me that Jonathan Taylor's pretty good. He's a pretty good running back in the league.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
He is. He's pretty good.
It's nuts, man. Who would have thought it?
I understand why they want to trade Marlon Mack because Jonathan Taylor is really good.
Agreed with you.
Yeah,
agreed with you. I get it completely. No, it's frustrating. And every 49ers fan, I get it. I understand the frustration, but I mean, some of the reactions to this and the over the top nature of this, you guys all got to come back down to planet Earth because again, this is another night again where you just don't execute in certain areas of the game. I mean, and there are places in the game, especially middle of that game, with the offense stalling out, not doing things where it's not great. But it wasn't until later in that game that the Colts really were able to pull away, and it was all off 49ers mistakes. Again, 49ers mistakes gave the Colts every opportunity they needed to run away with this thing. And then we'd have mistakes to give them the football, and then, again, mistakes in crucial downs when you're about to get off the field to extend their drives for them. That's not a recipe for winning anywhere at any point in the league at all. You're not going to beat you can't beat anyone playing football that way.
No. And I mean, JLA's talking about the only thing he was worried about was the Colts running game. And that was the big concern that I had because I was worried. I thought that's why they signed Kendricks at first, was to help prepare for those, run fits. And you saw at times that they were struggling on those run fits. They're doing Collinsworth pointed it out. The double teams, the point of attack, push him to the linebacker.
Kentavious Street did not have himself a great night tonight.
That has been consistent all year. The 49ers defensive linemen have struggled to stop that. Zach Kerr actually played decent today.
He did.
I can't wait to dive into the all-22 on him, but I think that, they were missing Kinlaw a little bit. I think that did make it a little bit of a difference. We didn't get the consistent pressure on Wentz that I think that it would have been nice to get, but I think the weather played a part in the way that they game planned, not the way that they actually played it, but the way that they game planned it, because they only brought some timely blitzes. They didn't bring a lot. They just did it on occasion. So I think they were, trying to play the weather, thinking that it was going to be harder to throw the ball, so they didn't get after him as much. They went with a different rotation as well on the D-line. But also the 49ers getting in that part where they just went 3 and out. That's not good for the defense. They're going to be out there taking extra snaps, which means Bosa and that defensive line is going to get a little winded, and they're not going to be able to get out there and put the pressure on that they would if you were having longer offensive drives and keeping them fresh. So the 49ers gotta get that offense more consistent. They need to be able to run the ball like they did a little bit today with Elijah Mitchell. I think there's more yards they left out there. But overall, I thought the early script, getting Brian Ayuk the ball again on a reverse, trying to get him involved in the offense, but he's just not getting open or something. I can't wait to watch the all-22. I can't see it all the time. But the only thing I do know is that they count on Debo a lot, and Debo usually makes plays. And right now, that seems to be the offense without George Kittle.
It's frustrating too. It's frustrating that is seeming to be the offense right now, and I don't get it, man. I don't understand the struggles with Brandon other than what I've seen with my eyes, which is route running's inconsistent. He can't get separation. He's not getting open in space. It's just not it's not what you're looking for. It's not what you were hoping for. It's not what you expected. It's just frustrating because it limits the opportunities for this offense to attack, especially with no George Kittle. And we're going into a game next week with a very, very talented front four. They're going to find a way to try and slow down the run game, put the onus on the quarterbacks to make plays. And as we've seen right now, if Jimmy's struggling, the offense is struggling, and when Trey's out there, Trey's going to struggle. Yes, he'll make plays and do certain things well, but Trey is not great right now extending drives with his arm. He's good at extending drives with his feet, not necessarily with his arm. And if they sit back and make him try and throw the football, if he's the guy you're turning to next week to make those type of decisions, I'm worried. I'm worried about this group going forward and what this offense can do.
But it is starting to get to decision time.
It is.
It's getting to that point now where it's getting to the tipping point of, is it you roll them with Jimmy, you still think you have an opportunity to make the playoffs. You have 4 losses, so of course you're not out of it. But you're getting to that point where it's push come to shove. Is it time to start going with the young guy? I think this is a big week, and I think that's going to be a big topic of conversation all throughout the week.
Correct. And T.O., you're right. The PI penalties killed you. JL just brought up Dwelly's blocking. Dwelly wasn't really being utilized in that second half. I don't know if anyone noticed that. Charlie Warner was operating as tight end 1 for a good chunk of sets.
He was tight end 1 today.
Yeah.
They brought Dwelly in on third downs, but Charlie Warner, he had to be in because JLE's right. The blocking for Dwelly on that third down play, he absolutely got beat. The Jimmy Garoppolo half roll, where did you see where Collinsworth is saying, oh, he was supposed to roll all the way outside, and then he stopped. He was supposed to roll outside. The problem is Dwelly lost outside contain. Defender gets outside, so he changed it to a half roll. That's just some of what's going on. I mean, yeah, Dwelly's not able to operate at the same level as George Kittle, of course. But yeah, Charlie Warner was tight end 1 today, and Ross Dwelly is the third, the receiving option. And he's finally gotten to that defined role because his blocking has been pretty egregious the last 2 weeks.
It's pretty egregious. JLA thought Jalen Moore did well tonight. Only 1 call against him. Yeah.
No, I mean, he's a rookie that's out there for his first game as a starter.
I don't think he played bad tonight. He had a couple mishaps. One of the Jimmy Garoppolo fumble, he gets toasted really, really hard there off the edge by Kwity Paye. That was about the only really egregious play that I saw from him tonight. For the most part, it wasn't one of those things where I looked at Jalen Moore and was like, man, I don't feel like Jalen's doing anything over there. Felt like for the most of the night I wasn't paying attention to Jalen Moore because there wasn't really anything going on. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, he's a 5th round rookie who stepped up in his first game and went against, somebody that was considered one of the top pass rushers in the draft and held his own.
I'd like to know from Lou what excuses are being made. I don't know. I don't know who's making excuses.
I think he's just saying we totally stunk. I don't know. I'm still gonna, no matter what, I'm gonna tell you the positives and the negatives, whether you like it or not. If that is making excuses,
okay, then.
You deem it as excuses, I deem it as truth. So that's just how it is. So if it's something that I said that you consider that is making excuses, then wholeheartedly believe it's making excuses. I'm just telling you truth.
That's kind of where I'm at right now too with this. Gabriel Clark said Jimmy's not the answer. Play Trey, give him some time. Give him game time. But this is the conversation now that's going to be the topic for not just 49ers fans, but in the 49ers building as well.
I think it has to be, yeah.
Because you're looking at this now going, if this team cannot and will not make the playoffs or can't make a run or make a push, then playing Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Because he doesn't really do anything for you, doesn't do anything to add to your future. You've already made your decision on what your future is. You already know that Trey Lance is your future. So that would mean it's time to make the switch to Trey. You roll with whatever happens, and you expect yourself to go sub 500 this year, and it is what it is. My question is Gabriel, where do you feel this team is right now? Because if you feel this team can get to the playoffs with Trey, I'd like to know why. Because I know there's some 49ers fans that feel that way, and they legitimately feel that if Trey goes in right now, if you just insert him, the Niners win this game tonight easily. They've won every game that they've lost with the exception of the one that Trey actually started, right? And that wasn't because of Trey. That was actually because of George Kittle not playing. So if Trey's just playing, we're winning these football games. I would like to know why they think that. What is Trey going to add to this offense right now that it's not doing currently? Mm-hmm. And then, how is he going to beat some of these teams with the fronts that they have, the secondaries they have, disguise coverages that he's never seen? Like, I get the leg stuff, and I understand that he extends plays. But if you watch that Arizona Cardinals game and you came out of that game going, hey, this kid's ready to be the guy right now, I'm not in that boat with you. He's not seeing the field. He's not making reads correctly. He misses open receivers. He doesn't do a lot of those things great. Is he athletic as all can be? Absolutely. Does he have a freaking rocket cannon arm and throw a nice, one of the nicest deep balls in the league for the quarterback position for a guy who's coming in day one?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Is this guy's ceiling up so high that I couldn't tell you where it ends or where it starts? Absolutely. But all of those things they're not honed in yet. They're just, teams are going to take away his strengths. They're going to make him read the field. They're going to disguise coverages. They're going to try and make him find the guys underneath, and he's missing those guys right now. Maybe gameplay will give him that opportunity to read those things and figure it out, possibly, but film study should also be able to do that, and he's still struggling.
I don't think that quarterback, even though it'll be the biggest, conversation, is the whole thing though, because the offensive line has had struggles, that defensive backs are having struggles with pass interference. We're having problems with the run fits, and I know Dre Greenlaw's not there, but these are all common problems that they're having. They're struggling with. So I think even though quarterback's going to be the big conversation, I don't think that is the tipping point, and ultimately what decides whether the 49ers start winning football games or not. It needs to be a culmination of a bunch of things. These guys all need to figure it out. And I think, though, it is coming to that time, though, where you have to decide if it's time, do we let this guy play, let him take his lumps? I just think it's getting to that point. But I don't know if that is right now, if that is next week, if that is 2 weeks from now. I'm not 100% sure. I don't have a complete feel for the team because I'm not in that locker room. I don't understand what Kyle is looking at exactly because we've only seen limited amounts of Trey Lance.
True.
We see what his weaknesses are. We see what his strengths are. We know what Jimmy's weaknesses are. We know what the strengths are. But what we do know is that with 4 losses this season, the 49ers need to figure out how to, either turn this around or start focusing on next year. The problem is you have veterans all over this football team that aren't going to be ready to phone it in. I don't think these guys will start phoning it in until you get to 6, 7 losses. That's when they'll, oh man, this is not going the right way. They'll still believe that they can. So it's going to be an interesting thing for Kyle. He's going to have to figure this out. And once again, it's back to the drawing board. And it's frustrating a little bit to me because I thought this was a winnable football game. I thought overall, X's and O's wise, it made sense for the 49ers to be able to win. I think early in this game, they proved that they could have, but they just didn't get it done. And they just didn't execute when they needed to execute. And all those things worked out in a negative manner, and they lost. I mean, that's just what it comes down to. They lost the game today.
Yeah, they lost. They didn't execute the areas of the game where they needed to. When you got them into 3rd and longs and had a chance to get off the field, your technique was poor. You had a couple calls not go your way, and you got PIs and extended drives.
Yeah.
You let guys scramble. You got guys getting out of lanes. Wentz was able to extend with his feet, which you shouldn't expect a guy coming off of 2 sprained ankles in a cold weather, muddy game to be able to do that. But it happened. I mean, it's just the reality of the situation. That's what occurred. And you're right. It's hard to really sit here and be like, yeah, the season's done. Let's phone it in. It's time to start developing the young guys. Yet we're 2-4. We're sitting at the bottom of our own conference, right? Our own division. But you got teams like the Panthers, who are in technically the playoff hunt still, that are spiraling worse than we are. The Bears, 3 wins, spiraling worse than we are. You're not out of it. You're just not. No. You're not in a powerful position right now if you're San Francisco.
And you don't look like one of the better teams.
No, not either.
I think that there's flashes, but they're not consistent in those flashes. So until you get the consistency, you're just not going to be one of those teams that's can be ranked up there. It's unfortunate, but right now with a 2-4 record, you're not out of it. This, in fact, is the exact record. I believe that Herm Edwards, when he had his "you play to win the game" speech, happened, and they turned around and made the playoffs. So of course you're not out of it. But your backs are against the wall, and they're back against the wall more than ever before. So, yeah, they've got to figure this out. They got to get it going, and I'd like to see them pick up a win next week on Halloween. They're going to be going against a rookie quarterback. Justin Fields is going to be happy. I don't know, though. The way Justin Fields played today, they might go red rifle. Who knows? That's
very true. Lawrence Owen, not here to gloat, just to say I expected a lot of turnovers, but I expected the 49ers to be more ready than they seemed to be. Lawrence, we appreciate you coming by, man. Congratulations to your Colts team. This was a big, important game for both of our organizations. And you guys came out tonight and took care of business. Tip my hat to Michael Pittman today, too. Made big plays when he needed to. Jonathan Taylor did Jonathan Taylor-like things. And Darius Leonard, once again, came up big when he needed to for that defense. Man,
still don't think he's better than Fred.
I don't want to say, I'm not going to say that either because we love Fred. We love our Fred Warner. But
they are asked to do completely different things.
Also very true in the system in terms of what they want. But Lawrence, man, congrats to your Colts. Big win for them now, and you guys got some momentum. We'll see how you guys build on this because the 49ers are going back to the drawing board, my guy. We're going back to the drawing board to figure this out because it wasn't a clean game. It wasn't a clean played game. It wasn't a clean executed game yet again for San Francisco.
I don't know if Mark is serious, but he's at Arizona State.
Yeah, he's at Arizona State.
I think he's being sarcastic. I was more proving to the point that they can make the playoffs from 2-4. Had less to do with Herm Edwards. But he had some of the greatest quotes ever. So
very true. He's very entertaining, man, at the podium. And as we know from certain people in the media, that's what's important in your head coach, and they have to be an entertainer.
That's true.
They can't. It's not about their coaching or the X's and O's. It's all about the entertainment value. And like Straight Vicious 49ers is saying here, we need a good QB coach for Trey to develop him.
Yeah,
that's what we need.
David Campbell, I agree with you. It's not the losses; it's how they are playing that is the most concerning. You're right. It is right now. You're expecting. We're expecting them to come out of this bye week and and make a step, a stand in the right direction. You get the early part of the game, you're like, yeah, here we go. And it didn't go that way. It went completely flat. They flatlined in the middle of this game offensively. The defense held up. The Deebo Samuel fumble at the end of the first half was pivotal in this game because it's 12-7, and the 49ers, okay, yeah, you're going to punt. You're a yard short. You're going to punt. But really, the Colts hadn't really done a whole lot on offense, so you have a good chance to stop them before the half, and that does change the game. So short field position. Once again, our defense gets put in short field positions a lot and have to respond. Sometimes they did. The Alshire big interception, or I guess it ended up being a fumble recovery because Contavious Street tipped it. So Contavious Street made a play. All right,
he also got double teamed to oblivion a lot.
Hey, you know what? You make plays. That's what's the key.
You make plays when you need to make them.
Playmaker. Man. Watch, he's going to be playmaker level on Madden this week. Get ready for it. Contavious Street.
No, and Lawrence, you're correct, man. Our defense did. They made plays when they needed to. They also didn't make plays when we needed to, and some of that comes down to the offense. Our offense putting the defense in positions where they were asked to make a lot more plays than the offense was allowed to make. I thought Ant may be there in that second half. That big drive to get the game down to 2 points. The big touchdown where the Niners go down the field, 3 or 4 plays and put a touchdown in. I thought, okay, maybe we got it.
Warner. Yeah.
I thought maybe, okay, we've got this thing dialed in now. Secondary's been a little weakened right now. We're going to get going. We're going to get this thing going. We're going to get this thing moving. And then immediately the next offensive drive, right, you have the throw on the sideline to Deebo Samuel. It hits him right in the freaking chest. Xavier Rhodes gets a hand in there. The ball pops up in the air. And as soon as it popped in the air, I literally turned to Megan and I was like, that's picked. That's picked. It's going to be picked. Every time that something like that happens, it's going to be picked. And there it goes, and there goes the momentum, right?
Truth is, Jimmy Garoppolo was supposed to throw that ball outside more.
100%.
He left it inside where
100%.
Xavier Rhodes could get his hand on it. If he throws it outside, Deebo makes the catch, gets a first down.
Execution.
Yeah, I mean, did you see? Even Carson Wentz. Some of the balls that they were throwing out there, though, it looked like they were throwing stones. Yeah. Like the way that they're like trying to get it there. It was crazy. I wonder what a big, strong, quarterback like someone like Trey Lance has got an absolute cannon, how he would whip a ball like that in the rain. Because Carson's pretty strong and he's got a strong arm, and even he looked like sometimes he was like guiding it.
Well, he was getting his hand underneath the ball a lot on a few of those because neither guy looked comfortable. I don't know how you could possibly be comfortable throwing the football in this game tonight. No. I don't know. If you had asked me to be a quarterback in this football game, it would have been one of those who were like, I don't know about this, bro. I don't know about this, man.
Yeah.
It's not. It's already not easy throwing an NFL football. Those things are huge.
Yeah.
They're massive. I've tried throwing one before, and it's just like, yeah, no, I'm good. I'll just stick to catching these bad boys. But imagine trying to do that with that much. I mean, just all night long. It never stopped. There wasn't a break. There wasn't a moment of relaxation. There wasn't a moment, too, where it sort of settled into a drizzle, and they got a moment to take a breath. It was just a torrential downpour from start to finish.
Oh, yeah.
The only, I guess, positive thing was the field didn't get absolutely destroyed, so there's that.
Yeah, the field actually held up great. If this would have been Candlestick, I mean, they would have been running in mud by the middle of the first quarter.
Yeah.
Yes, and Timo, you were right. It's a shot put. 100%. That's what it looked like. Jimmy Two Gloves. Oh.
Jimmy Two Gloves. Lawrence, my question for you, does your DB coach teach to look back with the football and the ball's in the air? That would save some of those PIs. Look, we're not sure. We're not sure if this is
It's the same technique that everyone teaches.
It has to be.
Everyone teaches the same technique. If you don't have contact with your receiver, you don't look back until either you have contact or you see his eyes get big or his hands go up. Those are the only things that people teach that are DB coaches. So if they've lost contact, that's what they're doing. But let's be honest. Some of these are good calls and some of these are bad calls.
Some of these are really bad.
The K1 Williams one was a little. I mean, that was an arm that like touched the guy. Like, I don't know about that one. The Mosley one was a legit. That was a legit.
Yeah, that one was a legit.
If we're going to talk PIs, can somebody please start calling offensive pass interference on the Colts for those? The
rubs.
The
pick plays.
Those
tonight?
are absolutely pass interference, and the Rams ran some today too. Absolutely pass interference. You are not allowed to do that. I guess that is not something that's an emphasis, but it is really bad. Also, the pass interference on both guys. I'm sorry, if somebody does a pass interference that creates a pass interference,
it's not a pass interference.
It's not a pass interference on the second guy. It's a pass interference on the first guy. That was a bailout call by them. That just proves how bad the refs are sometimes.
It's inconsistent.
Yeah.
But the Niners don't do themselves any favors either. I mean, it's just the reality of the situation. They just really don't do themselves favors when they need to make plays. Some of the jumping on certain routes, the third and longs, and guys sitting on certain routes in space when there's an opportunity for them to take a shot over the top. Just frustrating. It's just frustrating.
It's football.
It is. It's football. You got to make plays when you're supposed to. That's just.
You take 53 players, and it's like a bunch of ingredients, and you put it into a pot, and you hope that it's going to turn out the way it does. And when some of those ingredients don't turn out, sometimes it spoils the whole bowl. And that's what's going on right now. Right now, we're just not getting the production from everyone at the same time, and it's not working out. They're not executing when they have to execute. When they do, the drives work. Things happen. And as bad as some of the stuff was, it's like there was some good moments too. Elijah Mitchell, once again, looked really good running the football. He looked
Absolutely.
good. His vision looked very good. He made good cuts. There was a couple times he cut outside.
I finally saw the outside where he saw it and went and took it.
He's growing.
He's getting better.
6th game of the year of rookie season. Heaven forbid he wasn't already, Barry freaking Sanders out there. He was just out there, he's learning on the job. And that's the same thing that happens with all rookie players. Like Jalen Moore, I was super excited about how he is today.
Absolutely.
I'm curious if anyone has any negative because, he got beat by Kwity Paye, but he got beat once. And I kind of expect that to happen sometimes.
Yeah. T.O., how about the challenge flag from Kyle? It's not on Kyle. Someone upstairs was telling him something.
I'm guessing.
He dropped the flag. The refs come over. And you immediately see him go to the headset, and he's talking to the headset while the officials are talking to him about it, and he's talking to him. And then I see his hands literally go like this. He grabs the mic again, and he's talking to him. Someone said something to him.
You would think.
I think someone said something to him. Hey, that ball was a fumble, and it got knocked backwards. It might not be a first down. Throw a challenge flag. And so he threw it out there, and then they're like, oh, we should probably check first to see. It looks like they may have... Oh, it looks like it still might have been a first down.
It was a good, couple yards past the first down marker.
Someone upstairs was saying something to him because he was talking in the headset. And that's what you as a coach, right? Sometimes you don't see anything. That's what you guys have. You have guys up in the booth. That's their responsibility.
Yeah.
Paying attention to that kind of stuff and be like, hey, this is a situation here where you can challenge this thing. Someone gave him bad intel. It's just the reality of the situation.
If I was Kyle, after all that, I just would have been like, no, throwing it to the ref. He had dirt on his hands. I wanted him to clean it. Didn't want him, to have a problem out there because that was just, there's nothing to challenge there. That was just a big whiff. Somebody gave him fault. I guarantee you, somebody's getting ripped for that one. 100% someone's getting ripped.
Someone might be getting fired for that one. That was a bad one.
If it's the DB coach, well, we know what happened.
Look, it was 100% bad intel, and that's an unfortunate situation. It really, really, truly is. It's a crazy game, though. So it's just coach's brain was waterlogged on the challenge. Whoever was in the booth was waterlogged. That's what it really was. Because someone in the booth is the one who said something to him because he was on his headset. There's a lot of times where you'll see a coach when they're challenging, the headset's off and they're talking. They already know what it is that they want to challenge. Kyle was being fed something. Someone was telling him, hey, this is something that you could challenge here. He was getting intel from somebody, and that intel was completely off.
Well, if you watch McVay, if you watch LaFleur, if you watch Kyle, during defensive play, there's a lot of times they're looking down at their tablet, looking at their play sheet, preparing for the next drive. There's no guarantee he was looking when the actual play happened. He probably looked up, saw Taylor get past the line of scrimmage, doesn't see the fumble. So when they yelling in the mic, it's a fumble, he's like, did we get it? And he's waiting, and he thinks he's going to run out of time, and he throws the flag.
Yep. It's unfortunate.
It can definitely happen. So, all those guys do that, though.
But here's the thing. That didn't make or break this game. That throwing of that challenge flag.
Tommy's throwing in the fandom flag. He's done.
This team isn't worth my time anymore. Yikes, man. That's pretty early. It's pretty early in the season. 6 games in, but hey, everyone's gonna feel the way that they want to feel.
If it's not worth your time, it's not worth your time.
It really isn't.
You know where you'll find me at 10 a.m. next week on Sunday.
Oh, right here?
Watching the
49ers Cutback, and then reacting afterwards?
Yeah, I'll be reacting. I'll be watching the 49ers game.
And then, hey, will we have a Monday recap show at 11 a.m. Pacific time?
100%, because if they...
Okay. Wait, do we also have 9 a.m. face-offs on Mondays?
We do.
Okay.
Cheap pop. If we're... cheap plug, actually. If we're... whether they win or lose, I'm still gonna watch, but I get the feeling from Tommy. Sometimes that's how you feel. It's like, man, I'm just not even gonna watch anymore. But yeah, what happened? Good call.
Oh my gosh. I had a buddy tonight who literally sent me that. He goes, you know what? As bad as it may be for San Francisco, at least your team isn't already dog doo-doo. And then they're trying to trade for Deshaun Watson. I was like, oh, that's true. Could be worse. Could be worse, Ant. Could be bringing that distraction into your locker room.
Yeah, so the glass doesn't even have to be half full.
It's true.
It just doesn't have to be as empty as some, I guess.
It's true. It's just true.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's frustrating right now. It absolutely is frustrating. If you don't go to Trey, you let McDaniels call plays just for something different. I know it would be the same playbook, but just to change it up, nothing's gonna change.
I don't think there's any world that Kyle gives up play calling duty.
No.
And after listening to Mike McDaniel during the season saying, why would Kyle have anyone else call plays when he's one of the best play callers in the league? I don't think a lot of times, I know people want it to be Kyle's fault. I haven't seen anything on film that's proved it's Kyle's fault yet. Until I do, I'm not going to give it, put it on Kyle. There's been plays I've said, no, that was a bad call. Of course, I have the point where I can look back and be like, oh, the bad call. But when there's wide open receivers and stuff and they're just missed, that's not a problem. When there's a open running lane and a running back misses it, that's not a Kyle problem. When there's a missed block that prevents a play from being successful, that's not a Kyle problem. A lot of times I don't think it's play calling, even though we get frustrated. And as a fan, that's what I want to do is like, you ran on that down again. Come on, do something different.
Open up the playbook,
yeah,
coach.
Yeah. I mean, but think about it. Hey, this is truth. If you were on Twitter during this game, the first part of the game, they loved it. It was
actually silence.
Well, no, they loved the Elijah Mitchell moving the football.
Oh, 100%.
And then after that, we had we got the field goal. We should have kept giving it to Elijah. What are you doing? For like 2 straight series, you got to give it to Elijah. Then there was one drive where the 49ers ran it like 3 straight plays, and Twitter turned into, come on, Kyle, what are you doing? Why are you always running with Elijah? Do something else. There is no pleasing you.
No.
You know what I mean?
Oh, so there's no pleasing you.
It was crazy. I was like, okay, I get it.
You want to smoke in a pancake? Huh? Cigar and a waffle?
I get the frustration, Brad. I really do. I mean, I get it. I don't know without watching this in all 22, because you honestly can't see as much on the network podcast.
I absolutely hate sitting there, and we get text messages like this during the game all the time. I got a handful of them tonight.
Yeah.
Where I'm sitting there watching the game, and I hear people going, I can't believe that all they want to do is run plays for one person. I'm sitting there going, God, will you don't see the field. You don't know what the coverage is. You don't know where the safeties are in space. You can't see hardly anything in terms of what the actual coverage is, other than maybe a guess, a soft guess in terms of what it is. Mm-hmm. And you don't know what routes are being run. How do you know that the coach isn't dialing up for? How do you know that the quarterback hasn't missed anybody? You're literally basing this off of seeing 6 guys on the offense, the 5 offensive linemen and the quarterback. That's what you're basing your opinion off of. You're not even basing it off of being able to see half of the players on the field. At best, right?
Yeah.
At best, when you can see 6, the 5 down linemen and the quarterback and the 4 defensive linemen, you're seeing 10 of 22 players on the field. You don't actually know what's going on. It's too hard. Yeah,
and T.O. has a good part. He says, Mitchell was hot. I thought they were going to keep going to him. If you remember, I believe the very first play of the game, Jimmy Garoppolo actually checks. He cans the play and goes to play action and rolls out. The 49ers in that first drive, Jimmy Garoppolo kept canning between pass and run, back and forth, and putting the Colts defense in certain situations where, the Niners could be successful. And Elijah Mitchell got going, but then the Colts adjusted to what the 49ers were doing. So that is why Kyle was trying to get other things going. You couldn't run the same things you were running because they adjusted. So now you needed to adjust. The problem was the adjustments weren't being executed. Like we said, Ross Dwelley misses that block, and JaMychal Hasty gets stopped up the middle for a 3rd and 1. They could have had a first down. That ends a drive. Those type of things kill. But once again, when you watch the play, if Dwelley makes that block, that's a first down.
100%.
So it's not a bad play call. It's bad execution of said play call. But the adjustments that go on during this game, depending on what a defense is doing, is continuous, because they're going to move a guy around. They're going to bring a guy into a box. They're going to change coverage. They're going to have different personnel groupings. All of those things are playing into it. There's a bunch of moving parts, and you have to just figure it out how to execute it. And unfortunately, there's they're finding out right now. And this is why everyone that was saying trade George Kittle, pump the brakes, because nobody can do what George Kittle can do.
Heck no.
And especially no one can do it for this football team. Because those two guys that are there, Charlie Warner did his best blocking today, and he actually caught a couple passes, but he's not great in the receiving area. And Ross Dwelley has been pretty much dormant for the whole season.
He's going to continue to stay dormant too. I don't see it changing anytime soon.
It hasn't looked good. Now, that being said, in Arizona, he was open a couple times.
He was.
He just wasn't throwing the football. So let's keep it
as a receiving option.
Yeah.
Yes. Lawrence Owens here. I actually disagree with you here. I actually disagree with you that I don't think most 49ers fans think that the 2-4 Colts weren't any good, because I've heard a lot of 49ers fans actually talking about how this Colts team should be, like you said, 5-2. They should be up there, but their record, because they've had close games. I think for 49ers fans now, it's just you've had 3 games that you should have won already heading into this one. You're sitting there right now at 2-3, knowing that there's a chance you could be 5-0. You could have been undefeated or 6-0, well, 5-0, excuse me, going into that bye week, and you're not. And so now you're coming into this game going, well, you should be 5-0. You're not 5-0. You're behind the 8 ball. Everything's mounting up against you. You need to get this one. This is winnable. You have to get it. And they just don't. They just continue to not do that in situations and times and opportunities where they have to make plays, do the things they need to do, execute. Not there. It's not there consistently, and that's a problem. That's a problem that we haven't had under Kyle Shanahan during the 2019 season, right? During that 2019 season, and even the first part of that 2018 season, where the team got off to a good start before the Jimmy injury, they executed in downs and distances when they needed to.
Yeah,
that's been a common theme. I mean, I can think back to the 2019 season and how many 3rd and shorts, 3rd and longs, 3rd and goals to go. You're sitting there at the goal line, need to punch one in. They were able to get it done. It just hasn't happened this year. When you need to get off the field, the 49ers don't get off the field on defense. And when you need to extend drives and you have the personnel to do it, you're not getting it done.
Yeah, 100%. So Chauncey Monk says, Jimmy. Either he's our truth or he knows little Jimmy.
Oh, he wants the little Jimmy.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Let's see. The only 2019 revenge tour succeeded was DeForest Buckner. Sure. Yeah, DeForest. He was killing it today.
Hey, apparently Lynch ruined our franchise for the next 5 years. I didn't realize that had already happened.
Oh, cool.
That's cool.
Well, that means I got something to look forward to. Utter despair for the next 5 years.
Sweet, we already know about it. We can all prepare better.
Chauncey's bringing rainbows and butterflies.
That's all rainbows and butterflies.
I don't think he ruined it for 5 years. And why is it John Lynch's fault? I'm not understanding.
I don't know either. Hold on, what is that? Shanahan apparently in the post-game presser guesses Jimmy will start next week, but not very definitively, apparently, from David W.
Sounds about right. Like I said, we're getting to that point now where it is a big decision.
100%.
Jimmy made mistakes in this football game. He didn't execute at a high level. Let's see where Trey's at. Health-wise, I think Trey's going to be back. He's going to be healthy. I think this week they are thinking about it. Now, according to Collinsworth, the 49ers would have liked to have had Trey Lance for this game because they feel like a mobile quarterback would have gave the Colts defense some problems.
Who told them that?
I'm guessing the 49ers brass, because they also had a lot of information about Brandon Ayuk. Chris Collinsworth almost got to the point where he said Brandon Ayuk was on the doghouse. He said he wasn't in it, but he said he was around it. Yeah. I mean, so I think that they do get a little bit of intel, during these conversations. But yeah, it's a big decision, coming up for the Halloween game. Is it going to be Jimmy? Is it going to be Trey? I think it's a real conversation that's going to be had over the next few weeks. And if the 49ers lose to the Bears, 100%, I would think it would be Trey in week 7. I'm sorry, against Arizona, and not in week 7, but against Arizona. Because he's already played them. He understands the matchups.
I'm trying to think right now here. If the Niners lose Sunday, trade deadline is Tuesday the 2nd, correct? Or is it the 1st? I think it's Tuesday the 2nd.
November 1st, I believe.
It is November 1st.
I thought so.
If Jimmy plays and we lose, is he getting dealt that night? And they roll with Trey.
I see. Oh, just a second. Chauncey just said Ayuk, Sully, Dante Pettis. Dante Pettis was 2nd round pick, number 1. Number 2, I guess you didn't watch football today. Dante Pettis was making it happen for the New York Football Giants. Yeah, you don't need Odell.
That wasn't a touchdown,
You don't need Odell.
It wasn't a touchdown.
When you've got cat-like reflexes.
His shin scraped the ground. When his leg comes up off the ground, you see the pellets come up. And my best part of that was the ref goes, yeah, the ruling on the field stands is called. My stands is called because you can't definitively say there's pellets coming up out of the ground, my guy. There was pellets flying up off of the turf. His leg was down.
No, that was the world moving, the ground moving for Dante Pettis as he rolls into the end zone for a touchdown. Put some respect on his name.
I will put no respect
and
on his
I'm just messing with you, Chauncey. I understand what you're saying about the picks. You're saying that the first... Now, let's go ahead and let's put Brandon Ayuk and let's put Javon Kinlaw out of bounds because they've only been in the league for 1 year during a COVID season. I don't want to grade them on whether they are a bust or anything like that. Nick Bosa, 100% is not a bust.
Correct.
That is not the case. Mike McGlinchey hasn't played up to the levels that anyone anticipated for him. He has not been a blue chip. He is a solid, run blocker in this league. He's a okay pass blocker, but he hasn't reached expectations. I'll give you that one. When you get into the year where we get Reuben Foster and Solomon Thomas, you're right. Those guys are not.
Solomon Thomas, yes.
Reuben Foster's a first-round talent with a seventh-round attitude off the field, and he does terrible things there.
It might be
in the same regard, though, we look at all the first-round picks. Now, we all know this. There's actually more undrafted free agents that play in the NFL than first-round picks. First-round picks are often busts. That happens. Not everyone's going to succeed. But along the way, they hit Fred Warner. They hit George Kittle. Now it looks like they hit Jalen Moore.
Looks like they also hit Diamador Lenore. They also look like they hit Don Talanoa Hufanga, who played a very big role tonight.
So the thing is he hitting on the first round all the time? No. But what I'm saying is he is hitting in drafts. So let's not completely say that John Lynch is the issue, because if you go and look at a lot of people's teams, the first round picks haven't panned out along the way.
There's a lot of football teams that don't hit on the first round guy. Some do, some don't.
Yeah.
And every year it varies, it differs. I mean, do you fire Bill Belichick for them never hitting on a first round wide receiver? Does Bill Belichick get canned because their front office can't figure out wide receivers in the NFL draft?
Yeah.
I mean, they talk about first round draft picks for them and even first 3 round draft picks at the wide receiver position for them. They never hit.
Yeah.
If they take a wide receiver, it's almost guaranteed that person's going to bust.
Yeah. And I don't know if I think Timo knows I was joking, right, about Dante Pettis.
I think he was. I hope so.
I hope so. Yeah. I'm having fun with the Dante Pettis stuff because that's one of the things that is funny to me. But
I remember last week you kept talking about the doghouse actually being a dog wash. And you going through it and coming out. Hopefully, you're hoping he comes out clean.
It's true.
No, he's not. He has not come out clean though, Ant. He's definitely not come out clean. Is it time for? By the way, you and I both tweeted this almost immediately after each other. We weren't talking about it.
Yeah.
We both saw it and both immediately went to our personal Twitter accounts for the first time in a long time and tweeted #Brandon Ayuk needs to not return punts anymore. The experiment. I mean, they went right back to him after that and let him return kicks again. We've been saying this for weeks now. It was going to lead to something disastrous, and it almost did. I'm getting real Kyle Williams-y vibes back there, man. I'm getting Kyle Williams vibes when Brandon Ayuk is returning kicks. Are you in that boat? Are you there right now, or is this? Hey, we should just let the guy go. He looked better afterwards. He definitely caught punts after that. And got some positive yards. Are you ready to just be done then with this Brandon Ayuk experiment as a punt returner?
Oh, I'm already done. Yeah.
I mean, I know
I've been done as soon as he let it hit the ground in 2 straight games. If you let it hit the ground, you're not a good punt returner. That's just the way it is. You catch the ball, you make sure that you secure the catch. I would much rather have Mohamed Sanu do it than Brandon Ayuk. That's just I'm done with it. The coaching point in me, I would never allow this to happen. It would have been one time. That is one area where I'm like, Richie Hightower needs to make a change. And if that's Kyle Shanahan, they need to have a heart-to-heart because you can't consistently, let that happen. I think what they did in this game, too, with Brandon early is he had that muff, and so they did let him go out there and secure a couple more for his confidence, I guess. But, yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And then I seen where T.O. said, Ant, where's Hurd? Chilling, sipping tea like I was during this game, getting as much, action in the football game as I was. Hopefully eating some very good food.
Tacos?
That's what I was eating. I don't know what they're eating, but yeah. And then Rick Dowdy said what happened to the bootleg. They went down the field in 3 plays and then didn't use it again. You know what? That's a good call because actually I think didn't they put up the stat? Jimmy was like 8 of 10 on play action passes. for like 128 yards and a touchdown.
Yep.
Jimmy's very successful in the pass game, in the play action pass, and Collinsworth talked about that. Maybe he's one of the better ones in play action pass with the elite quick release. That's something that they need to do a lot. They have to have a successful run game to do it. They proved early they had the run game. I don't know. When I get into all 22, I will definitely. That's something I'll be watching for. So, Rick, that is a good point, and I'll be looking into that.
That's a great question.
Because you're right. That last drive, they didn't go to any of that. They went back to the straight drop.
They did. And Jimmy struggled that tonight all night long in the straight drop situations. It was frustrating. They had Debo returning kickoffs, desperate. I think they're just looking for playmaking ability.
They just didn't need to let Debo do it. Just let Debo do it. He's as dynamic or more dynamic than the guy they have doing it. And I think also, now they don't need that roster spot for him.
That's what I think is going on too. Yeah. I think part of the reason why they did that tonight was at the end of that game was, number one, how does Debo handle it? How well does he do? And then number two, and most importantly, we're going to have guys coming off of IR here in the next few weeks. We got to start opening up roster spots. Can we afford to just say, hey, Trenton Cannon, see you later? We don't have room for this anymore. And they definitely can.
Well, we talked about this when they were making their final cuts. We can't keep a guy on this team just to be a returner.
Accurate.
And that just proved the level of injury that we did have a guy. Jay Ellie, yes, of course, I tried on the jersey, man. Come on. I might have flexed in it a little bit, felt good. And then I immediately went down with a knee injury.
Yeah, immediately went down with a knee injury. And we're like, gosh, darn it, I got to put this thing in the closet now for...
Dang it. And ever since then, my back is hurt just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Rough.
But I figure I'll go out there and make a couple plays here and there, and then I'll be okay for a little bit.
Possibly. All right, we'll take a couple. We're going to take a couple more questions, chat. A couple more questions. And then we're going to, oh Lord Almighty, and then we're going to wrap this thing up because we got to get the recap show done. We got to get Face Off done with Jay Hill, and we need to trade Debo. I'm Ghost. I'm Ghost.
If you like Patreon, Chauncey, you should check out our Patreon.
Hold on.
Check it out.
Oh, you really should. Hold on a sec. Hold on, Ed.
T.O. said now they won't see me for 3 years.
No, yikes. It's true. I mean, it's not inaccurate. It's happened.
That's pretty solid.
Hold on, Chad. Don't start typing too many things now. I don't want this to go away. It can't go away.
Alex is taking a picture.
If it goes away.
Hey, and Chauncey, what would you expect in this trade if you're trading Debo Samuel? What do you want for him? Because right now, Debo's proving to be that guy, right? He's our number one guy. If we trade Debo right now for some picks, what are we going to do on offense?
I don't know. I know one guy that we cannot count on. Brandon Ayuk, because he cannot consistently beat man coverage.
Trey Sherfield made a couple plays today.
He did, and he got back into the rotation a little bit. Maybe he's going to be even utilized even more. They went back heavy to Juwan Jennings tonight because there was no Travis Benjamin activated, was there?
No Travis Benjamin today. With an emphasis on the run game, they went with Juwan Jennings, right, to help in the blocking
it's
area. Also the screen passes. You get a Juwan out there, him and Mohamed Sanu to block. So strategically, it made sense. If it wouldn't have been raining, you 100% would have saw Travis Benjamin today.
Yeah.
The one thing I'll say, in this aspect of rain, the game plans for both teams would have been completely different, right? Because the 49ers would have done things more down the field with Travis Benjamin to try to stretch this weakened, defense through injury, and it just didn't happen because the rain prevented anything like that from happening. And that's just a change of game plan. I mean, both teams are facing the same thing. I'm not using that as an excuse. I'm just saying that's the game plan would have been completely different.
Correct. And Lawrence Owens, Chauncey wanting to go the Texans route. Yeah, he really does. I would like to ask Chauncey how that went for Bill O'Brien and the Texans, but I think we already know the answer to that question.
Well, if Kyle Shanahan is trying to get out, hopefully the same way.
Oh, man. You mean to tell me we're going to have a book here in like 3 years where Kyle Shanahan was just doing everthing he possibly could?
I think John Lynch should just call call Bill O'Brien and say, like, hey, what was it you gave the Hopkins to Arizona for? We'll do that.
It's a second.
Just call McVay and be like, hey, you guys got a 2. We'll give you that.
We'll give you Debo.
We'll give you Debo for that.
Take him.
Yeah.
It's all good. Oh, my goodness. As I said earlier, disappointing, yes. Team played poorly, yes. But please enjoy the ride. It will get better. Here's the thing, right? It was Super Bowl aspirations for the 49ers and the 49ers faithful. Right now, you're playing about as bad as you could possibly play, Ant.
Is it as bad as you can possibly play? I have a feeling they could play worse than this.
You're not wrong, actually.
They're not playing like awful. They're just not playing winning football, right? They're playing compete in the NFL football and not winning football.
It's true.
In 2019, they had close games, but they won them. In 2021, they're not winning close games. And so they just, I mean, that's what's going on right now.
Chauncey, we're the worst in the division. Why do you guys act like it's no one's fault? Wasn't this team supposed to be a Super Bowl roster? You guys joke and laugh like it's just bad luck. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. It's no one's fault? We've been saying execution not there. Guys not making plays when they need to. Poor decision making. There's times where, we're not understanding why certain game plan things don't go the right way they did, right? Mark talked earlier and asked about boots. Why did we stop going to the bootleg? Great question. We'll watch the All 22 film. We'll break that out down on Patreon. We'll talk about that. We'll come in for our daily episodes next week and probably shed some light on that to all of you as well. Like, no one here is sitting here saying it's no one's fault. But what control do we have? Like, literally, the only thing we can do is talk about what we're seeing, right? And try and shed some light on the reality of the situation, which is the 49ers have 4 losses on the season. They have 2 wins. In the 2 wins, one of them, your offense came out and played great for 4 quarters. Well, almost 4 quarters.
3.5.
3.5 quarters. And in one of those games, the offense played terrible early and then figured it out late. And then it's been sporadic since then with the offense. And 3 of those 4 losses, you lost by 1 score. This is the first game this season where you lost this game by more than one score. And, I mean, why? I mean, why did we lose by more than 1 score? You have to chalk some of it up to the circumstance in which they were playing in, on top of the lack of execution and guys not making plays when they needed to. It all compounded in 1 week. Later, Lawrence. See you later, guy. Thanks for coming in. We appreciate it. And make sure you smash that like button, like he said. The reality of the situation is that it's just...
Well, we got some more stuff. Darwin Gonzalez says Kyle's lost the locker room. I would say exhibit A that he hasn't is people showed up during the bye week when they didn't have to show up.
True.
That they were still working out at the facility, doing all that stuff. He would have lost the locker room, you would hear things from people. You would see reactions from players on the sidelines.
True.
You're not seeing that. I don't think that is the case, but that's a great talking point. As far as what you were talking point, the only thing that people want to hear is
Kyle
sucks.
John's fault.
We're making the wrong picks by John.
Jimmy sucks.
I mean, that's what people want. They don't want to hear what's actually happening on the field. They just want to blame those 3-headed monster.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happens.
And why did we draft players that we don't use?
Well, which players is he talking about? Because I knew, in fact, I texted our group chat and I said, Debo's on the inactive list. Here it comes. Because everyone's going to freak out that Diameter Lenore wasn't involved. But the 49ers plan on implementing a 3-safety look. They needed to load the box because the Colts were going to run the football. You don't need extra cornerbacks.
Later, Lou.
So that's just what I'm going at. Later, Lou.
That's a great question. Chauncey, I'd like to know that. Who are these players that we drafted?
Yeah, which players?
Use? Because I think I already know who the first name is going to be.
Diameter Lenore? Trey Lance?
Trey Lance.
Trey Lance was inactive.
Well, I'm aware of that. He's
hurt.
But we're not using him, man.
Oh.
We're not using him.
Yeah, and that's the thing, JLE, right? You usually draft for the future. Only in certain areas do players contribute in their rookie season. They're usually special players.
Chauncey says Trey Sermon. Watch the film.
Yeah.
Watch the film on Trey Sermon.
We drafted Elijah Mitchell. So what do you want? Which one do you want to play?
Is it so Elijah
do they have to play both?
Elijah Mitchell can't play, Trey Sermon has to play, or is it, Trey Sermon should be playing over him because he's better? Because if you watch the film, he's not.
Trey Sermon is not as good as Elijah Mitchell right now. It doesn't mean he won't develop into something better down the road.
He's averaging 4.8 yards per carry, though, man.
Okay.
Because I guess stats tell the whole story.
How many games did he rush for 100 yards? He played against the Packers. He didn't rush for 100 yards. He had 19 carries in that game.
Aaron Banks
ain't good enough to play right now. That's 100%. Just accurate.
Go to training camp. You could have watched training camp. You could have watched the preseason game.
I can make it this clear. Anyone that he puts on there, they're not good enough to play right now. They're not better than the guy in front of them. And it doesn't mean they won't be down the road. They possibly could, but they're not right now.
And circumstance may change some of that, too. Circumstance may change some of that. The team continues
But it was crazy, right? Aaron Banks was active today, and everyone thought he was going to play. Why? He's a backup. He's not going to play.
He's not.
The problem is Jalen Moore starting at left tackle because Trent Williams is hurt. Yep. So you need an extra lineman. So Aaron Banks is playing. He's going to suit today. That's just the way football goes.
Hufanga did, though, Darwin.
Yeah.
I mean, I said this last week after.
Yeah, Hufanga's snaps have been going up 100%.
After the game he had last week, I 2 weeks ago, I said this. I said there's a good chance that we're going to start seeing a little bit more of Talanoa Hufanga into the game plan, and he got utilized more. And a couple of times he had some great opportunities and great plays and did some great things, and a couple of times he got beat. Mm-hmm. But that's going to happen because he's a rookie, and he's learning.
Yeah,
and he's going to make mistakes because that's what rookies do.
Yeah.
It is the whole team. They need to start playing to win. Yeah.
Agreed, Rick.
So Chauncey says, then draft better players. How many teams in the league, Guy, do you think are drafting players and playing them in the same year? Do you think like 31 teams in the NFL are drafting guys in the first, second, third, fourth, fifth round and playing them? Is that something that you really think is happening? Like Chauncey, I'm being serious. Is this something that you think's like real? Like every team does this? Ask the Chiefs how drafting and playing guys from the first round. Ask them how that's working out for them.
Well, I'll tell you, Patrick Mahomes, he must have really been bad because he didn't start his first season.
Bro, he's terrible. Hey, can you believe that he couldn't beat some washed up check down quarterback and Alex Smith? Man, he's freaking trash.
Yeah.
And then look what he's doing right now. It's proven it. Trash, bro. Even though his O-line's garbage. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Jalen Moore, and I thought Jalen Moore looked pretty good, man. I really did. I thought overall, I want to watch more of it. I'll actually focus on him more because I was kind of watching the overall game.
I was trying to watch a lot of everything.
But besides Kwity Paye getting there, and actually, you know what's crazy? Jimmy makes a nice move to get inside, and then the pressure comes from the backside and just, boom, knocks the ball away. He's got to secure the ball at that point.
Yep.
But yeah, it's like,
I foresee a Chauncey episode of Big Yikes. Maybe. What? We don't do that. Thanks, Chuck Norris. Freaking Chuck Norris. Mark Graves asked the Raiders, and you can ask any team in the league. There's tons of teams that have taken guys in the first round that just
for every Solomon Thomas, there's a George Kittle. For every Reuben Foster, there's a Fred Warner. Every single team has this happen. You have guys that hit, you have guys that miss, and what you're hoping on is that you hit. Now, unfortunately, if you lived through the 80s, the 49ers were spoiled by Bill Walsh, where there were drafts when they literally hit on like 10 dudes in a draft.
Yeah.
That is not the norm. It's just not what happened. I mean, look at Trent Baalke. He would get good players, and then he would get A.J. Jenkins. You know what I mean? It's what happens.
100%, Ant. 100%, Ant. Look, it's one of those things for me where it's like if all you're going to talk about is the fact that we're drafting guys early and not playing them.
Do you see that?
No, what he said.
The Steelers are playing all top 5. Yeah, and the Steelers are losing. They're not good. The Steelers are not good.
Look at the Jets. Look what the Jets are doing. They're playing a lot of their first 3 round picks. They're trash. They're a trash. Or if you are drafting players in the first round and turning around and expecting them to have huge roles in your team in terms of execution and that they're going to change the game day one, unless they're the Hall of Famer, unless that is what their talent level is. That's true.
Peyton Manning.
That's true.
Hall of Famer.
They were trash. They were absolutely trash.
28 interceptions.
Yeah,
28 interceptions. Yeah, it's not always the best.
It's unrealistic to expect that every guy that you're going to draft in any given year is going to come in and have a huge impact.
Yeah.
Or even to expect them to come in right away. There is a difference between college level football and NFL level football. That's just reality. It's the reality of the situation. The game is different. The scheme's different. Terminology is different. Coaching points are different. And you may have a coach. I mean, there are guys from Alabama who get coached up and then come into the league and don't do anything once they get here. And that's despite having all the advantages in the world. It just doesn't happen. Hey, I mean, I'm sorry. Alex Leatherwood. They drafted him early. The Raiders did. Started him at tackle. Guess where he's playing now, guys?
Guard.
They moved him into guard because he can't handle it. He can't handle it. They drafted him to play tackle for their team and solidify their O-line. He can't handle it. He moves inside. This happens to every team every year with at least one guy from their draft class that they expect to take a step or expect to be something, and they end up not doing it or not being that or not even being a solution, or they just have a slow start and it takes them a little while to get going. This happens.
Well, the 49ers had a very good roster, right? They have a lot of talent on their football team.
It's true.
So we went into the draft, they knew that. So they didn't really have they didn't draft for need. When you draft for need, you end up with guys like Kinlaw. You end up with guys with Brandon Ayuk because you're drafting for need. Those are need draft picks. I mean, we think both of those guys could develop eventually.
Sure.
This year they weren't drafting for that. They were drafting, they were trying to get best player available. Now, where they had a need was corner, but they had to pivot on that because they didn't get the corner they wanted. They didn't get the offensive lineman they wanted, and they pivoted, so they drafted for the future. Now we have to wait for those future guys to pan out. Those guys are not going to pay dividends for the 49ers this year. That's just the way it is. Whether that is a miss or not, you can decide, but I think I wouldn't throw the bust around with any of these guys yet. I mean, especially if they've only been drafted in the first 2 years, just let it happen first. You know what I mean?
You have to. There has to be some patience in terms of, these guys and their development and who they are and what they could or could not do or what they could or could not be. I wanted to bring this up here with Chauncey because he brought up the Steelers and mentioned the Steelers. So the Steelers drafted this year Najee Harris, who's being utilized heavily. Why is Najee Harris being utilized heavily? Because the Steelers don't have an O-line and Ben Roethlisberger's deteriorating before our very eyes, and they have to give the ball 20 or 30 times a game because Ben Roethlisberger's not consistent.
Oh, yeah.
Pat Freiermuth isn't starting. He's not the starting tight end. He's a backup. He's their second tight end who gets used on certain sets in certain situations and has thrived best in, surprise, surprise, and the red zone, the area in college that he did very well in as well. Kendrick Green hasn't blown the socks off anybody. Dan Moore Jr., Bobby Johnson, Isaiah Loudermilk, Quincy Roche isn't even on their roster. He didn't make the active roster. That's a 6th round pick.
Because he wasn't good enough.
Correct. Yeah. He didn't make the roster. So, I mean, the Niners don't even have a 6th round pick on this team this year that didn't make the active 53-man roster.
Okay, we got to talk to is that Reif? Reef, I'm sorry.
West.
He said, what do you guys think is the solution? We can't say execution for another 11 games with Jimmy G at quarterback and sitting all these rookies who are expected to contribute next year. Actually, I don't know if you were here earlier.
He probably wasn't.
He probably wasn't. So what we talked about earlier was we're starting to get to that point where they have to make a decision on whether you can still, I guess, figure out how to get to the playoffs, or if this is a wash and you need to go ahead and start playing those young guys, including Trey Lance. Because I think Trey Lance is the first guy as it starts to roll. That's number one.
Sure.
So we do believe that there's in the middle, but they're not executing. That is what's going on.
Correct. And then if you keep doing the things if you stay on the path that we're on right now, where we're not executing, you're not winning football games, that happens. I mean, for me, the conversation needs to start happening now. But if you do it again next week against the Bears, you come out of that with a loss, and you're sitting now at 2-5.
I think that's when
it's time. It's time to just put the young guys in. It's time to rest your older players. I'm not even saying necessarily rebuild, but there are areas on this O-line where there's questions, right? Laken Tomlinson is in his last year. Daniel Brunskill in his last year. You have Mike McGlinchey that has been struggling at the right tackle spot. This is now where you can start making decisions like, hey, we need to get Jalen Moore on the field. Let's move him to right tackle. Let's move McGlinchey inside to right guard. And hey, you know what? Laken Tomlinson, we're going to whoop and get Aaron Banks in there when we feel ready and put Aaron Banks at left guard. And you can have some games where you roll with this new O-line that could be your O-line going forward in the future with Alex Mack there at center and with Trent Williams out there at left tackle. There are decisions that the 49ers can make here coming up in the future, including things like getting Talanoa Hufanga in there at safety and maybe getting Jimmy Ward or Jaquiski Tartt off the field at times to see if this is a guy who going forward after the season can be your starting safety out there. The only guy I don't expect to get out there and get some, well, actually, that's not even true, because if we're that bad at that point, Ambry Thomas will definitely get some run.
Yeah, and then he said, you guys sound like we're rebuilding. If so, why play all these old dudes in the first year 1-year deals? I think you were going into that a little bit. I would say that when you're building a roster, even though you have the veterans, you want to continuously bring people in and new talent.
Correct.
So that way, as those talent are going away, just like you brought up with Daniel Brunskill and with Laken Tomlinson, when they leave, the plan was for Banks and Moore to take over those positions inside next to McGlinchey and Trent Williams. I'm sorry, I'm blank on his name a little bit.
You're good, bro.
But yeah, I think that you're always planning for the future. You have future contracts, so you're going in and selecting those. And then I seen David W. said Kyle and John make the picks in the first 3 rounds. Scouting department makes the picks in the 4th. Let's just say this. Okay, if you want to say that, then you got to give them credit for Deebo Samuel, Fred Warner. Those guys are pretty good players.
Up until this season, Brandon Ayuk.
No, I'm just saying, right? If you're going to have it both ways, I mean, that's how it is.
It's true. My thing is this. I don't even want to give you your both ways. Where's your proof in that?
Well, Adam Peters is the one that wanted the Ambry Thomas pick. That was a 3rd round pick.
It's 3rd round
pick. He stood
pick
on the table. So they do listen to their staff. He wanted that pick.
Well, here's the thing, too. You and I both know that the 49ers were targeting Walker Little and that they were targeting Paulson Adebo. Two guys, well, Walker Little, not so much. He hasn't done much of anything because he's not being asked to play right now, even though he's an early pick. But Paulson Adebo has been playing lights out fantastic, and Lynch talked about it in the presser after that round, basically saying we were going after a guy like Paulson Adebo, and we just didn't get him. We weren't able to go up early enough to make a move for that kind of guy. They have targeted correct players. They have targeted guys that we thought that they should target and we're looking at that are right now having big impacts in the league. They've looked at these guys. In the draft, there's a pool of players that everyone's looking at. It's the same pool of players, and everyone's going to look at them and value them differently. There's no way to know with 100% certainty what other teams are looking at a guy and feeling like that guy's impact could be. You may be sitting there going, this guy could start for us right now, or down the road here in a couple of years, and someone else may be looking at him and thinking, this guy is a game changer for my franchise right now and is willing to go up 30 spots when you're only willing to go up 15 to get the same guy.
Right.
There's no way to know what's going to happen. And at a certain point in time, too, you run out of time to look at all of these players in the draft board. I mean, Aaron Banks was a guy, that we didn't even spend any time looking at in pre-draft work because we watched a few things and we're just like, he doesn't fit the typical mold for offensive lineman for the 49ers. We're not going to spend any time breaking this guy down and looking at him because there's no way that the Niners are going to take him where we thought he was going to be taken.
Yeah.
And then, ipso facto, blah, 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 blam, surprise, Aaron Banks in San Francisco. And it's like, oh, okay, well, maybe there's a shift coming.
Yeah, and we have some questions. T.O. said, if Mitchell keeps killing it, will they keep Mostert? I think little comments like you heard from Chris Collinsworth means if the 49ers could keep him for cheap, they would. The dynamic ability that he has to stretch the defense horizontally with his speed. It's just how much money is it going to cost? I think that's what it comes down to.
Darwin Gonzalez here. Can Kyle develop Trey?
Yeah.
100%.
I don't see why he wouldn't. Most quarterbacks have a jump in year two. I know Jimmy got hurt in year two under Kyle Shanahan's system, so it was actually year two for him was 2019. Was his official second year under center, if you really call it that, and he had a pretty good season. But you look at Matt Ryan, he had a good season. The only one that he did it in the first year with was RG3, where RG3 ends up tearing the ACL in the playoffs, so that's unfortunate. But Kirk Cousins also played well, so I don't think there's anything that Matt Ryan went all the way to MVP in development with Kyle Shanahan. He was never considered an MVP candidate before that, so I think he can develop him 100%. And then Chad said, is football success a mathematical equation on positional success based on pay, or a coach's direction upon a road to the promised land? I think it goes into a lot of different things. I think you're drafting certain positions for certain things, but it all comes down to scheme, what a coach wants to do, drafting certain players that fit that scheme, and then letting those players go out there and execute. Getting the players that you want that fit the things that you do. It's different from other teams, so that's why a lot of times when we were talking about the draft, I would talk about players, and I would say they don't fit the 49er system, so I'm not really going to pay much attention to them because they're not going to be somebody they're going to draft. Because Kyle has a very specific scheme, and he likes to use guys certain ways, so I think that's what it is. Well,
and you and I both, there were draft picks this year that we didn't think fit scheme to what the Niners typically did. And right now some of those guys have panned out and some of them haven't. It's hard to say too within any given year, because sometimes coaches look at a guy and say, yeah, you know what, maybe right now he doesn't fit what we need him to do, but I see something. I think I can get it there. And so sometimes you're willing to take those chances and come bring a guy in. It's difficult. It really is. It really is difficult. Man, it's just hard.
I see what Jag is saying. It's hard for a great team to win with turnovers and penalties, let alone the average team. Put Banks at right guard and Moore at right tackle. The only problem with that is they haven't deemed that either one of those guys are better than the guys that are starting. And if we go to where we're putting Trey Lance in there, I want Trey Lance to be able to stay upright as long as possible and not have to completely create with his legs. So as far as development-wise, it makes more sense for them to keep a line that can at least protect him a little bit than put those other guys in front. Even though I would like to see them continue to develop, I don't think they need the game reps unless they're ready to take over those positions.
Question. Mm-hmm. Is this the same fan base that was complaining that Trey didn't have blocking in the preseason with the second string O-line in? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
No, I mean, it is. But I think people are starting to get, right, we're 2-4. People are starting to transition into preparing for next year. I mean, that's a lot of people, in a lot of people's minds, 2-4, it's over. They're ready to start transitioning for next year, and I understand it.
Tommy with the $2 super chat. Another 100+ yard game with that rushing yard game without a win sucks, man. It really does suck.
It really does.
It really does suck when your rookie 5th round running back comes in and does the things he's supposed to, and you don't come out of this thing with a W.
Yeah, I'm gonna be clear. I'm not ready to transition into next year, but I'm getting close. I think that
I'm not ready yet.
As a coach, I would be starting to understand that there are some positional moves. Like if it's close, where you think you could move McGlinchey or Brunskill and Jalen Moore's that close, you go ahead and make that move right now. Let the kid develop. But as far as Trey Lance too, I don't know where you're at because we're talking about Kyle losing the locker room. If he pulls the trigger too quick on that quarterback switch. And not just the quarterback switch, though. I'll take it back because I think they would be okay with the quarterback switch. With like all the players, I think he would lose the locker room. All the veterans would be like, "This season's over. Kyle's cashing it in. We had an opportunity and you didn't do it." So, I think that's where he's still sitting.
Do we need an authoritarian somewhere on our coaching staff? I think Kyle's kind of a little bit of that.
He is.
I don't think we need one. I think we already have one. I think that's what Kyle is. Kyle is, I don't like what I always say, man, about on CJ Media. Welcome to the Cutback crew, my guy. Kyle, I've always said this about Kyle Shanahan, and I've always thought this about Kyle Shanahan. He's someone that wants things done a specific way, and once you show and demonstrate that you can do things a certain way, right, get a little more leash. Start getting the leash let out a little bit. Get a little more freedom to start doing some things and trying some things and being a little more think about Matt Ryan, right? Like Matt Ryan, once he demonstrated he understood the offense, he was really allowed to open things up, and Kyle put things in his control and let him take shots and let him take chances and gave him opportunities. Yeah. Jimmy has operated the offense well and done certain things well, but he's never shown consistency with certain types of throws and certain types of plays for Kyle to be like, let's let all the leash out and do what you want to do. It's been very much controlled, and I think Kyle wants to be able to take that next step, but I don't know if he believes he can yet with the current pieces they have at the quarterback position. Trey has definitely not shown that you can just open up the playbook and let him do whatever he wants because Trey's struggling to find things. And Jimmy has his limitations. He's a limited quarterback. He's got strengths. He's got a lot of weaknesses. He's got holes.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if this is serious. Before we go through some of these questions, Russell Peterson said, I didn't see Kittery, I'm guessing means Kittle, make a single block today.
Kittle wasn't playing.
He's on the injured reserve.
He's on IR.
Okay. Let's see. Yes, the Eric Armstead and Defoe thing is cool. Darwin Gonzalez says, I wish we could have gotten Lamb or Justin Jefferson at wide receiver. Would have helped Trey's development. I mean, that's pre-Trey. So that would have been, you wouldn't have Brandon Ayuk if you got one of them. So if you would rather have one of them than Brandon Ayuk, I can see that, if that's what your thought process was. I know earlier in the week, people also brought up Christian Wirfs, that they'd have rather had him than Javon Kinlaw.
What has he done?
He's a starting left tackle for Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
What has he done?
Not get Tom Brady sacked.
I know he hasn't get Tom Brady sacked.
Banks was a reach, third round talent at best. I actually agree, Tommy. I thought he was a reach on draft day.
If you guys remember on draft day, there were two picks over the first 2 days that we were not very happy or high on.
Yeah.
It was that pick and the Trey Sermon pick.
And Ambry Thomas.
That's true. I know. Technically, yes. Basically, the middle of the draft, rounds 2 through 4, were not good days for us. We were not very happy.
No. We loved round 5, 100%.
Round 5 was a home run.
Yeah, I was surprised they went with Hufanga, but I was down with it.
I was down with it also. Should we trade some veterans like Kittle to get some of our draft capital back? Absolutely not, under no circumstances.
I seen Jag said with the second round pick, would you go corner or best center guard available?
Corner.
How are you going to say corner right now? You don't even know what they're going to do in the offseason.
Maybe I know some good corners out there on the market that I'm excited about.
Okay, but you don't even know what they do in free agency, number one. Number two, you don't know what is going to happen at the center guard position. If Alex Mack retires, you might need to go center.
If Alex Mack retires, it's 100% center.
Well, we don't know that because we don't know what centers are going to be there at that level. Who's going to be good enough when they make that pick? There's too much that plays into this, Alex. Don't fall for this.
I got a better idea. We trade Trey Lance. We get all of our first round picks back. We get our 2 first round picks back, and then we bring in some mediocre quarterback to bridge us for another year. No. Wait. Hold on. I got a better idea. We trade Trey Lance and we make sure that we go get ourselves a wonderful Aaron Rodgers, and then all of our problems are solved.
Okay.
But no, CJ, trading Kittle would be a nightmare for this 49ers teams.
I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to go into a season without George Kittle.
Look at this offense with the struggles with some of the run blocking at the tight end position and the lack of other options downfield with route runners when Kittle's not on the field. Kittle changed the game way too much.
I do believe that they need to address the tight end position. We talked about during the offseason that the tight end position behind George Kittle needed to be addressed, and hasn't been, and that really needs to happen.
It definitely does. Darwin, as much as I like Sermon, they should have gone cornerback. Well, they did go cornerback. It just wasn't a cornerback we were very high on.
Well, they went cornerback after that, but they traded up to get Sermon. They originally planned on trading up for Paulson Adebo. And Paulson Adebo got drafted about 10 or 11 slots before they planned on trading up, and they didn't get him. And John Lynch even mentioned it, which is hilarious. I know you brought this up earlier, but he mentioned it. That's how we knew 100%. That was our feeling, what we thought.
That was the guy we wanted. I mean, we both wanted Paulson Adebo
100%
badly, like really, really badly. And so, the fact that they kind of echoed that, we made us feel good about, what we thought about his development and what we thought this team needed.
Tommy brings up Asante Samuel, and I will say this because I know Asante Samuel very well. I know Jay Ellie does as well. Would Asante Samuel have helped us on the outside, though? Because I think a lot of people think that he's going to be a nickel corner in this league. So would he have been that guy on the outside? And how much better is he than than the guys that we were going to have, Jason Verrett and Emmanuel Mosley?
You're not wrong,
Yeah. You're
not wrong. Oh, look, Cutback Crew. It was not a great one. It was not a fun one. It wasn't what we all wanted. It wasn't what we were all hoping for. But now we got a chance to regroup. We got a chance to try and figure out what we got to do. And the 49ers got to get back to the drawing board. You don't have a short week this week, and thank God. You don't have a Thursday night game to try and bounce back from or anything like that. But you do have yourself a game against a very formidable defense and a front there with the Chicago Bears, who have been struggling and are trying to find a way to also salvage their season after 3 wins earlier in the year. They've dropped four, not 4 straight, but they've dropped 4 games here in their last 5 or 6 and are not rolling very well. They're trying to get back on track. The Niners are trying to keep themselves from completely sliding into irrelevancy on the season. 8 games in, right? 8 weeks into the season. We'll see what happens. Cutback Crew, we cannot thank you enough for the support. Make sure you tune in tomorrow, Monday. We got a 9 a.m. face-off that's going to get very spicy, as well as a game recap, which we're going to dive deep into this game.
Yeah, and next week the 49ers play on Halloween in Chicago, so that'll be exciting. And at least if for some reason the 49ers happen to lose, which I'm not saying they are, we can all get chocolate wasted.
You can call it chocolate wasted all you want, and I'll call it a different type of wasted, and that's what it is.
If you know the reference, you know what chocolate wasted really means.
100%. 100%. So we'll see what happens, Cutback Crew. We'll see you on the next one, and until next time, stay safe.
And remember, the right way is always the 49ers way. See you, Chauncey, on Patreon.